Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told This podcast, where we take everyday objects and we uncover their fascinating histories.
Yes,
And today,
absolutely.
we're going to be exploring something you probably have sitting on your desk right now,
Yeah.
the stapler.
The
You
stapler.
might use it every day, but have you ever stopped to think about where it came from?
Well, it's a surprisingly adventurous tale,
Yeah.
full of innovation, competition, and even a little bit of surgery.
Surgery. Now, that's not what I expected. I
Yeah.
thought we were talking about fastening papers together, not
Right. Yeah.
operating rooms.
Well, the concept of stapling actually predates the paper stapler. Early surgical staplers used a similar principle to close wounds,
Interesting.
essentially acting like
Mhm.
high-tech stitches.
So the idea of binding things together securely with metal has been around for a while, even if the applications have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting.
It is, and it speaks to the ingenuity of humans throughout history, constantly searching for better ways to connect things, whether it's flesh or paper.
Speaking of paper, it was the explosion of paper usage in the 19th century that really set the stage for the stapler we know today.
Right.
Suddenly, people were drowning in documents and needed a better way to keep them organized.
Exactly. Ribbons and pins just weren't cutting it anymore. They were messy, time-consuming,
Yeah.
and not very secure. This growing need for an efficient paper fastening solution
Right.
is what sparked the invention of the stapler.
So who was the mastermind behind this revolutionary device?
Well, it wasn't a single inventor. It was rather a series of innovators building upon each other's ideas. The first patent for a stapler was actually granted in 1866
Oh.
for the staple itself,
Oh.
a bendable brass fastener invented by George McGill.
So the staple came before the stapler. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like inventing the wheel before the car.
Precisely. And just
Yeah.
like the invention of the wheel paved the way for countless other innovations, McGill's little brass fastener set the foundation for the development of the stapler as we know it.
And I bet there were a lot of people eager to capitalize on this new invention and create a device to actually insert those staples.
You're absolutely right. The race was on to develop a practical and efficient stapling machine. Just a year later, in 1867, McGill himself patented a press to insert his staples.
Okay.
But it was still a far cry from the sleek desktop staplers we use today.
Right.
This early contraption was more like a heavy-duty industrial press.
It weighed over 2.5 pounds. That's incredibly heavy for a stapler, especially compared to today's models. Imagine having that behemoth on your desk.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning of the story. In 1877, a rival inventor named Henry Hale entered the scene
Okay.
and patented a machine that not only inserted but also clinched a staple in one step. This was a major advancement towards creating a more user-friendly stapler.
So the competition was heating up. It sounds like McGill and Hale were locked in a battle for stapler supremacy.
It was a classic tale of innovation fueled by rivalry. Each inventor was determined to outdo the other, pushing the boundaries of what was possible with this seemingly simple device.
I'm hooked. What happened next in this stapler showdown?
Well, in 1878, we see another significant milestone. The first stapler with a magazine holding multiple preformed staples appears.
Oh, wow.
This meant you didn't have to manually insert each staple one at a time,
Right.
making the process much faster and more efficient.
That must have been a game changer for anyone dealing with large stacks of paper. It's like going from a horse-drawn carriage to a Model T.
Exactly. And speaking of game changers, in 1879, McGill came roaring back with the McGill single-stroke staple press, the first commercially successful stapler. It weighed over 2.5 pounds, but it was a hit.
Wow, so it took almost 15 years from the invention of the staple itself to a stapler that people actually wanted to buy and use.
Right.
That's quite a journey.
And it wasn't over yet. The competition continued to drive innovation, leading to a rapid succession of new and improved stapler designs in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
Before we dive into those advancements, I want to remind all of our listeners to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more fascinating deep dives right here on Tell Me More.
Yes.
Now back to the stapler saga. What happened after McGill's single-stroke staple press took the market by storm?
Well, as often happens with successful inventions, imitators and competitors emerged,
Sure.
each trying to improve upon the design and capture a share of the market.
I can imagine things were getting pretty cutthroat in the stapler world.
They were, but this fierce competition ultimately benefited everyone,
Right.
leading to more efficient, reliable,
I
and user-friendly staplers.
So it was a win-win for both the inventors and the consumers. What were some of the key innovations that emerged from this period of intense competition?
One of the most notable developments was the introduction of the spring-powered stapler in the late 1800s. This eliminated the need for the heavy, cumbersome presses of earlier models, making staplers much more portable
Right.
and convenient.
That must have been a relief for anyone who had been lugging around those early behemoths.
Yes.
So staplers were finally starting to resemble the desktop devices we're familiar with today.
They were, and as staplers became more commonplace in offices and homes, the focus shifted from pure functionality
Yeah.
to user experience.
Okay.
Inventors began to pay more attention to ergonomics, aesthetics, and even safety features.
It makes sense once the basic functionality was established.
Mhm.
The next step was to make staplers more comfortable
Right.
and enjoyable to use.
Exactly. And this attention to detail led to a wide array of innovative designs,
Right.
each with its own unique features and advantages.
So the stapler had come a long way from its humble beginnings as a surgical tool and a simple brass fastener. It had become an indispensable part of everyday life, constantly evolving to meet the changing needs of its users.
It's a remarkable journey, isn't it? And it's a testament to the ingenuity and persistence of those who dared to imagine a better way to fasten things together.
It really is. But we're just getting started with our deep dive into the world of the stapler.
Yes.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore some of the more unexpected twists and turns in this surprisingly fascinating story.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Tell Me More, as we were saying before we left off. The evolution of the stapler really took off in the early 20th century.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about all the different designs and innovations that emerged during this period. It seems like every few years, someone was coming up with a new and improved stapler.
That's right. One of the most significant developments during this time was the introduction of the four-way stapler in 1941.
Ah, the four-way stapler, the workhorse of the office. I've got one on my desk right now. But I have to admit, I don't think I've ever used all 4 settings.
That's not uncommon. Most people are only familiar with the standard prominent setting, which folds the staple legs inward for a secure hold. But the four-way stapler actually offers a lot more versatility than that.
So what are the other settings and what are they used for?
Well, there's the temporary or shear setting, which folds the staple legs outward. This makes it easier to remove the staple without tearing the paper, perfect for documents that need to be unbound later.
Oh, that's what that setting is for. I always wondered. So it's like a less permanent way to bind papers together.
Exactly. And then there are 2 settings for pinning, which use a single staple to attach papers to a bulletin board or other surface.
So the four-way stapler really lives up to its name. It's like having 4 staplers in one. But I have to ask, how does one stapler achieve all of these different staple clinches?
That's a great question. It all comes down to the ingenious mechanism inside the stapler. By rotating a small anvil, you change the direction that the staple legs are bent when the stapler is fired. It's a simple yet brilliant design that has stood the test of time.
It's amazing how much engineering and innovation goes into even the most seemingly mundane objects.
It really is, and the story of the stapler doesn't end there. In the mid-20th century, we see the emergence of electric staplers, which made it even easier to handle large stapling jobs.
Electric staplers. Now that sounds like a real time saver.
They certainly are. Electric staplers can power through thick stacks of paper with ease, making them a staple in busy offices, print shops, and mailrooms around the world.
So the stapler has gone from a heavy manual press to a sleek electric device in just a few decades. It's a testament to how quickly technology can evolve.
It is, and alongside those technological advancements, we also see a growing emphasis on user experience. Stapler manufacturers began focusing on ergonomics,
Right.
creating designs that were more comfortable to hold and use for extended periods.
So it's not just about power and efficiency anymore. It's also about making the stapler more user-friendly.
Exactly, and this focus on user experience led to the development of features like softer grips, spring-loaded mechanisms to reduce hand fatigue, and even staplers designed for left-handed users.
It's incredible how much thought and attention to detail goes into something as seemingly simple as a stapler.
And that attention to detail extends to the staples themselves in the latter half of the 20th century. We see the introduction of innovations like coated staples, which resist corrosion and prevent damage to documents.
So It's not just the stapler that's evolving, but also the staples themselves. That makes sense. After all, the staples would actually hold everything together.
Absolutely. And as technology continues to advance, we're likely to see even more innovations in both staplers and staples, making them even more efficient, user-friendly, and environmentally sustainable.
Speaking of sustainability, have there been any efforts to make staplers more eco-friendly?
There have been some manufacturers are experimenting with biodegradable staples made from plant-based materials.
That's great to hear. I'm all for reducing our impact on the environment, even when it comes to something as small as a staple.
It's all about thinking about the bigger picture. And when you consider the sheer volume of staples used worldwide, even small changes can make a big difference.
So the stapler has come a long way from its humble beginnings. It's not just a tool for fastening tapers together anymore. It's a reflection of our technological advancements, our design sensibilities, and even our environmental consciousness.
It's a microcosm of human ingenuity, constantly adapting and evolving to meet the changing needs of the world around us.
Welcome back to Tell Me More. We've been on quite a journey with the stapler, haven't we? From surgical origins to the evolution of the four-way stapler, it's been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has, and we've only just scratched the surface. The world of the stapler is full of intriguing niches and unexpected innovations.
Speaking of unexpected innovations, you mentioned earlier that some inventors tried to create stapleless staplers. That sounds like a real paradox.
It does, doesn't it?
How can a stapler be a stapler without staples?
Well, it's a testament to human ingenuity, right?
Yeah.
Always striving for a better way. These designs, primarily from the early 1900s, aim to fasten papers without the need for metal staples. Some models punched and folded the paper, creating a secure bond using the material itself. Others used a crimping method, interlocking pages with serrated teeth.
So they were essentially trying to reinvent the entire concept of fastening. It's like trying to build a car without wheels. What fascinating outside-the-box thinking.
Exactly. While they ultimately didn't replace the traditional stapler, these designs highlight the constant drive to improve and explore alternatives. Even a seemingly simple tool can inspire a range of creative solutions.
And it's not just about eliminating staples altogether. The evolution of the stapler also includes adaptations for specific tasks. For example, I've seen these long-reach staplers that can reach the center of large documents. How do those work?
Well, those are designed to solve a very specific problem. Stapling booklets and brochures, they're called saddle staplers, and they have this distinctive inverted V shape that allows you to staple through the fold line of multiple sheets.
So it's like having a miniature printing press right on your desk. And that got me thinking about the different types of staples themselves. It's easy to forget that they come in all shapes and sizes.
That's right. There are staples designed for different thicknesses of paper, staples with varying leg lengths for different binding needs, and even heavy-duty staples for fastening through thicker materials.
It's a reminder that the humble staple itself has also undergone its own evolution to meet a variety of needs. It seems like there's a stapler and a staple for just about every imaginable purpose.
And let's not forget the tacking stapler, essentially a mini staple gun.
Oh yeah.
Instead of binding papers, it's used to attach things to surfaces like bulletin boards.
It's remarkable how the basic concept of the stapler has branched out into so many specialized tools. It's a testament to its versatility and adaptability.
Speaking of adaptability, one thing that always fascinates me is the deceptively simple yet effective design of the staple itself. The two legs, the crossbar, the way it bends and clinches to create a secure hold, it's a true marvel of engineering.
It's like the stapler equivalent of the wheel, a timeless classic that has remained largely unchanged for over a century. But even a classic design like the staple can spark debate and controversy.
Oh, absolutely. People have very strong opinions
Right.
about the right way to staple.
Right, yeah.
Should the legs fold inward or outward? Is it ever acceptable to use the sheer setting for a permanent document? These seemingly trivial questions can lead to surprisingly passionate discussions.
It's amazing how something as simple as a stapler can elicit such strong emotions and personal preferences. But I think those debates are part of what make it such an interesting and an enduring tool.
I agree. It's a tool that we all have a relationship with. And we all have our own unique ways of using and interacting with it. It's woven into the fabric of our everyday lives, yet it often goes unnoticed until there's a jam or we run out of staples.
It's a reminder that even the most mundane objects can have extraordinary stories to tell and surprising depths if we take the time to look a little closer.
Well said. And that brings our deep dive into the world of the stapler to a close.
From its humble beginnings as a surgical tool to its evolution into a ubiquitous office companion, the stapler has played a fascinating role in shaping the way we work, communicate, and organize our lives.
It's a reminder that even the simplest tools can have a profound impact on our world.
So the next time you reach for your stapler, take a moment to appreciate its rich history, its intricate design, and its surprising versatility. And who knows, maybe you'll even spark a friendly debate about the right way to staple. Thanks for joining us on Tell Me More. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of everyday objects.